budget. Our total budget was for $610,947. When you look at the breakdown of the budget, 79% was for the internal support of the church, pastoral salaries and benefits, the staff salaries and benefits, as well as the maintenance, utilities, and insurance. When you look at the remaining 21% that was budgeted for in 2019, it was for the synod payments, our programs, our ministry, the parsonage, and the interest on our debt as well. So this is just a quick high-level breakdown and a quick refresher on our 2019 budget that was adopted. Slide 4. These are our actual financial results for 2019. So when you look at the operating income or the receipts that we brought in, it was a little bit over $586,000. Our budget was just a little bit over $610,000. So we were $24,000 below our budget, or a variance about 4%. Now it's important to note this does not include any receipts related to our dedicated funds, the capital campaign, the resale, and the LYO. Operating expenses for the year came in just a little bit over $605,000. We had budgeted $610,000, so we spent about $5,800 less than what we had expected. Overall, when you look at the various line items, we were in line where we budgeted. Did have some shifting where we didn't have a full-time director of music, full-time faith formation assistant, and shifted that spend to Chris and Ed and the worship and music. So our net operating result for the year was a deficit of just a little bit over $18,000. The recommendation of the Finance Committee will be to apply that deficit against the operating reserve surplus of $51,000, but Council will decide on the final deposition of those funds. So slide 5, this is our 6-year average of our income and expenses, brought in by the church. And when you look at the operating income, our 6-year average is $591,000. In 2019, we brought in just a little bit over $586,000. This was the third highest in the last 3 years. But if you look in 2018 was our highest at $642. We did have some pretty significant year-end gifts that were one time related to tax planning. Our operating expenses, we were flat to 2018, came in just a little bit over $605,000. And as mentioned, we ran a deficit of $18,510. Did have surpluses in the prior 5 years, and as mentioned, we'll apply that deficit to those operating surpluses. So page 6, just a quick wrap up. The operating income was below plan by just over $24,000. Operating expenses below budget by $5,800. So our net deficit of $18,510. And then as mentioned, the operating results don't include any of the dedicated funds. So no receipts or expenses related to the capital campaign, LYO, or the resale committee. Slide 7, this is our balance sheet at year end. So the balance sheet makes up of assets and liabilities. Assets is what the church owns, and the liabilities are what the church owes. Looking at your assets, cash at year end was $468,000. When you look at the breakdown, we had dedicated use funds of $529,000. We had a deposits receivable of $55,000. And what this relates to is we had some capital campaign checks that were dated prior to year end, but they were deposited after year end. And then we had a prepaid expense related to our insurance of $5,000. Our two liabilities at the church are the parsonage loan as well as the endowment loan. Those balances at year end for the parsonage, just a little bit over $71,000, and the endowment fund loan was just a little less than $50,000 at year end. And when you look at our dedicated funds, the total is $529,000. The biggest piece of that is the capital campaign funds that we've received to date. So that's $432,000 at year end. As Pastor mentioned, we have pledges of a little bit over $1.9 million, so we've received $432,000 at year end. So we still have about $1.5 million to collect, over the next couple of years. And then our other dedicated funds balance, the Memorial Fund, Organ Fund, LYO, make up about $65,000. And when we apply our operating deficit in 2019, our operating reserve fund will be about $32,000. Slide 8, this is our 2020 budget overview. Just some high-level comments on it. The council recommended an operating budget of $611,000. This is essentially flat to what we had budgeted for in 2019. Some of the key assumptions are 2 full-time pastors, a music director and higher praise band participation, as well as staffing of our office manager and custodial and a part-time faith formation assistant. And of course, we're going to support the ongoing programs and re-energize our ministries. Slide 9. This is a comparison of the 2020 budget versus 2019. As mentioned, the 2020 budget is flat to 2019. The council did recommend a 5% increase to the pastors for compensation. This is related to the additional duties that they'll pick up, as well as cost of living. Also, too, we continue to support our program and ministry increases, particularly around worship and music and the Christian Ed to continue to further grow those programs. We did recommend an increase to the synod offering of $10,000 to make a total of $55,000 in 2020. We also recommended to increase the property and maintenance budget to $40,000, which is an increase of $5,000 versus 2019. And of course, we budgeted to pay the interest expense for the loans on the parsonage, as well as the endowment fund. But some of these increases are offset by not funding the part-time pastor position in 2020. So page 10, this is just a breakdown of the budget when you look at the two categories. So the support of the internal church is about 71%. So the pastoral salaries and benefits, the internal staff, as well as the maintenance, utilities, insurance, that's a little bit over $432,000. And when you look at the programs and ministries, the synod, as well as the parsonage and the interest and loan, that's the remaining 29%. And if you recall from the earlier slides, the breakdown in 2019 was 79% 21. So by not funding the part-time pastor position, we shifted that spend to support the additional programs. So page 11, just some quick thanks. Special thanks to Lori Heyer. Especially at year end, we received lots of checks and contributions. So for her to get those in the books and prepare for all the meetings, really appreciate it. And of course, a special thanks to the finance committee that keeps me on my toes, and they check every penny. And I can tell you, you're in good hands with this finance committee.